All right, Felthrin will slow down a hair.
Well, it's a good thing you do because then you see it. Fort Knucklebone. A large junkyard barricaded by a large wall of various metal and horribly spiky parts, dragon bones, giant skulls, demon uh, demon remains and devil remains just shoring up the walls. In some places, the walls almost looks like a coral reef, as if various slimy creatures have crusted over. There's a small single gate that is currently open, very much like a Mordor Black Gate experience. You see this gate just open as various vehicles are moving through. And it is relatively, it is guarded, but you can tell at this distance, Felthrin, this appears to be a working outpost in this wasteland of Avernus. It flies a high flag that you can tell is neither demonic nor infernal. This appears to be somewhat of a demilitarized zone.
Do I see any vehicles similar to what we're driving going in and out?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to yell at the guys. Are you guys okay now?
I don't think I can hold much longer.
Okay. Hand me the rope.
I'm coming down. Don't worry about it. And I just start to slowly lower down to the ground.
The challenge now being, how do the Sojourners want to proceed inside of Fort Knucklebone? You know your contact is Mad Maggie. You also heard that your drow friend, whose name you haven't caught at this point, he was recently going here, delivering a supply of pickled frog eyes.
Hey, imp friend.
Yes, old chum. What can I do for you?
Can we just go right in there? Or are they going to look at us funny?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People come in here all the time. I mean, every once in a while a mortal comes through, and they usually have some sort of business. Of course, they'll query you about your business. But for the most part, it's relatively... it's not entirely safe, mind your back. This is a bunch of gangs and marauders and rogues, and definitely not someone of sort of a lawful type.
We're not worried about safe. We just want to make sure we're not going to get ambushed by everybody.
And just don't make enemies with everybody.
Can you get us to Maggie? Is that a good enough reason to go in?
Absolutely. You want to... well, I can, of course, get you into Fort Knucklebone. I assume I received payment already. 10 gold.
Of course.
Indeed he did. When getting an audience with Mad Maggie would require some sort of delivery, or of course you can appeal to her at any time and she holds a court. How do you intend to get into her chambers without any sort of bartering ability?
You said that she houses people who are on the run from Zariel.
Oh yes, indeed, for a high price, but yes, she provides sanctuary.
The lady wouldn't be happy to see me. I can say I need sanctuary.
Well, as long as you're willing to pay the price. Well, Professor Thaddeus Banks is up front and as helpful as I can possibly be.
What price are we talking?
Well, things that she desires, of course. She doesn't write a contract entirely going for souls, of course, but sorts of things like maybe quests or missions, or perhaps returning her stolen war vehicle, maybe perhaps bounty hunting, all sorts of things like that. Mind you, criminal things here in Avernus, of course.
We can handle Maggie, just get us to her.
What's the war vehicle?
It's the thing you're riding upon, old chum.
Oh.
So were they in allegiance with her, the madcaps?
Oh yes, the madcaps are her little lackeys, her servants and everything. These war vehicles are actually created by her and then sold to the infernal legions. If you notice, there's little spikes peering out. They're called demon grinders. They just plow right through demonic hordes. She sells them to Zariel, of course, for a price.
I think Felthrin's just going to keep moving. Can we... Maybe... How far out are we?
You're quickly approaching, and you kind of slow down a little bit as the traffic begins to pick up. You see that there's a couple guards. Most of them are hobgoblins and various devils with certain defects and war wounds on their body. Occasionally you see something that looks like an elf. These are various creatures that have found sanctuary and are simply providing service. The particular person that you notice, the most notable guard, is a blue-skinned tiefling with no eyes. They're completely sewn shut, no hair, and the horns have been sawed off and reassigned to her back. Incredibly emaciated, but incredibly powerful looking with magic. A long spear, she holds up a hand, and with a crooked smile, as if her jaw has been broken, she says, "State your name and business."
I don't have a name of my business. Oh, Moradin's Beard. That's the name of my business.
Moradin's Beard, you're quite far from the land of the dwarves. What are you doing here?
We're looking for a way in.
She kind of eyes each of you, and especially Bramble, and she looks and says, well, it might cost you a little bit. And she kind of leans forward and looks at you, Bramble, as if she's staring eye to eye, but you can see now she has stitches where her eye socket should be. What's a sweet little fella like you doing in a place like Avernus?
That doesn't matter much now. I need to go to the hospital. I need some healing.
Oh, are you contagious? Oh, make a deception check. Oh.
Oh, goodness. Yes, so here's the question. I have reliable talent. Does that kick in when I have disadvantage? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
In that case, it is a 20.
Oh, yeah. She instantly recoils, and without questioning or pressing you for any more bribes, she says, "Get this sick person in. Come on, go. Don't linger in here and spread it to me.
For good measure.
Visit the Demon Tavern. They'll love you." And she passes you on through. When you enter into Fort Knucklebone, it's a pirate's quarry. There are demons and devils. There's a few fallen angels with their wings clipped and various infernal tattoos affixed to their skin. There's a group of hobgoblins that are busy carving a poor, innocent-looking animal, something that looks like some kind of game, as they barter and gamble to see how long the creature can survive, as they let its blood and cut off various parts of its squealing body. You walk in, you see a tavern called the Witch's Wart, and various general supply stores particularly catches your attention. Magic supplies, various things from other planes of existence, powerful sorcery. Enter if you dare. There's a couple other buildings, so Garandan, what's a building that you might look for that would catch your interest in this barter town?
Just a place to stay would be what Garandan's looking for. A safe haven home. Something with rooms, maybe, yeah.
Hey, in this place, I would be very, very curious to see what you would be looking for in this horrid, just backwoods pirate dwelling.
I've got to stop them from torturing that animal.
Oh, oh gosh. We'll get to that. Bramble, your skin is beginning to hurt. You're very sore. The foul smell of the bile has not left your skin. What are you paying attention to?
Looking for either some kind of like witch doctor type of situation, some kind of healing something, and failing that, some kind of alchemy shop where you could get a healing potion.
Before we get to Felthrin, both Bramble and Garandan notice at the Witch's Wart there's a small high-rise of a 3-story building where various devils and travelers, even a couple mortal humans, drink themselves into a stupor as they slumber on the 3rd floor in hammocks. Bramble, you see that a impish-looking character, a lot like Professor Thaddeus, but he's a little taller and without wings. He too has some spectacles, and he sees a limping hobgoblin that is kind of look like his leg has been gnawed off. He gives him a quick potion, and the hobgoblin starts to fall asleep. He leads him back behind a woodshed, and you hear this loud pow. And then he accepts payment from the other hobgoblins, and they quickly count their wares and go take them away. Felthrin, you can see that Hay's attention is drawn towards these hobgoblins torturing this. It is an animal, looks a lot like an abyssal monkey. Its wide, large eyes are completely black and hollow. It has a large, slathery tongue, a tail with a fort at the end, and is currently missing 3 of its appendages and squealing. But what does Felthrin pay attention to?
Well, Felthran's kind of single-minded to get to Maggie's. So I think he's pretty lost in conversation with the imp about getting to Maggie's. I'm sure he would hear the squealing, and he'd probably glance at Hay. I don't know. If he sees Hay making a move, he probably would join in, but he's going to try to keep going to Maggie's.
I'm just letting you know, you can definitely see Hay's attention being drawn. You've been with him so long. Okay. You know intuitively.
Hey, we got to get to Maggie's.
I know what to do. I reach down and scrape some of the dust up off the ground, and I blow into it, and again, like a mound of dirt comes up around my feet, and I cast Flesh to Stone on the monkey. It does look like it's beyond help. Is that right? Yeah. I'm just going to turn it into stone.
And as you do, the hobgoblin looks and just kind of jabs into it, and its blade snaps, and he curses and says, "Demon Ichor, what the ever-loving ogre!"
And I'm just walking on. I'm crying as I go, but I'm just trying to be as unobtrusive as possible.
The abyssal demon monkey, instantly you see the sigh of relief come over its face, and its body turns into stone and falls upon one of the other hobgoblin's feet, bruising it. He holds it and starts cursing. And the situation is resolved. Felthrin, you have a moment to comment on Hay's action.
Hey, that was great. Glad you did that.
Felthrin, knowing that Garandan and Bramble are looking to for a place to stay and a place for alchemy and medicinal supplies, you are passing by the hospital hotel, as it were. But you've made a note of where it exists. And Professor says, well, it's just right up here if you want to get a closer look at Mad Maggie. Usually she's in the barter market and everything. I mean, there are many ways to make a scene. He kind of wipes the sweat from his brow. As your friend, old Black Eyes over there, he almost made a scene and certainly would have garnered the attention of Mad Maggie. But you are here to trade. Shall I announce your presence?
Yeah, tell her that we're returning her bike.
Well, we'll do. You're starting to get a couple looks. Garandan and Bramble. Everyone's Bramble looks pretty rough though, so he's not getting as many looks as Garandan and Felthrin, especially Hay. Everyone's starting to creep around you a little bit, getting a little too close for comfort. There's this large gorilla-looking devil, and he's flexing and smelling horribly as these flies begin issuing out of his armpits. And he kind of leans over to you, Garandan, and says, "Hey, nice day for a tussle, huh?"
What's one of those?
What do you mean, what's one of those? He pushes your arm. You want to fight, don't you? Little pipsqueak.
Not particularly. If that was a tussle, I'm good.
With the 9 sons, I'll have you squished. And he goes to grab, and one of his smaller friends says, Hey, leave him for a later date. Got your eye on you, traitor.
Yeah, we are here trading. Absolutely.
What? And they both look a little confused back and forth as you press on. Professor Thaddeus Banks returns. Everything gets a little quiet. Felthrin, you hear the The boots click down the wooden stairs leading out of a hut about 20 feet up in the air. One by one, the wood creaks and everyone gets quiet as this large, feminine, old, wiry-looking creature with long white dreadlocks, a big pirate's coat, steps forward, creaking down, extending a bony hand on the guardrails, and on her shoulder is perched a human skull, burning with a green light within its cavity. And it's speaking to her as its mandible is clattering back and forth, and she whisks it away. And you can see now she doesn't have a face, but rather she has acquired a horrible bull head from a recent decapitated demon, and she is currently wearing it. She kind of looks back and forth and then sniffs. Come to Granny, child. You hear the voice in your head. You are here? Hey, the voice begins to echo as well. Wait! Silence! She grabs the bullhead and removes it from her like a helmet, carrying it off to her side, and you see that there is nothing there, for the night hag has been decapitated. Mad Maggie appears before you, formerly known as Granny Nightshade. You see her, and then she puts back on the demonic bullhead. Her eyes light up, and her mouth opens, and she says, "Oh, look what the cat dragged in. What blessing have I been bequeathed that you should arrive on my doorstep and returned my tricycle? Felthrin Grovelaw. Oh, the name. It tastes like candy, and her tongue begins slathering across her bony lips. Grovelaw. I have longed for a taste of it. And you've brought friends as well, crispy henfolk, a younger dwarf, and black eyes. It's been too long since we've gotten to a tussle, and she reaches her finger up under your chin and begins coaxing you to come closer. Give Granny a kiss.
She does that to me, or she does that to Hay?
To Hay.
Yeah, that's good.
I recoil and make a face. Ugh.
No. Oh, you dare treat your granny like that? Please tell me. I haven't seen you in my dreams. Have you seen me in... When did you last think of me, Felthrin?
I think it was when we took your head off, Granny.
Everyone takes 10 steps back. And the flame skull just looks at you, and its mouth just drops open, agape, at the insolence it's speaking to this criminal warlord of Avernus, and she scoffs. Can't you see? I'm not just no granny now. I'm Mad Maggie, thanks to you. For in taking off my head, I received a little bit of pity from a high power. Given a new job. Welcome to Fort Knucklebone. And everyone roars into a cheer, and you realize you are now the center of the entire fort's attention. The old burly gorilla-looking demon kind of looks at you and rubs your head, Garandan, and says, "Oh, he's about to have a bit of fun." Bramble, how do you respond to this situation?
Bramble's gone as tense as he can with the exhaustion weighing on him. He's basically got his finger on the trigger.
Garandan.
The last time I saw you, you were on the floor of the Grand Hall.
Oh, come now. At least you brought me back my respect. And she extends a hand, expecting a head in return.
There's a certain drow that you're gonna have to ask for that.
Oh, pity. He was the good-looking one. And as she looks towards you, hey, how do you respond to this situation? People take 10 feet back and been applauding and cheering, and you realize you have become the focal point of the entire fort as they are highly entertained at these former enemies of Granny Nightshade. A couple of them say, Granny Nightshade, oh, that was her name. Oh, they don't know her as Mad Maggie now. And she begins taunting you, and you realize you are having many eyes upon you. How do you respond?
I just look down and twist my foot in the dirt. I don't really have anything to say. I don't like being the center of attention.
Especially even now, and a certain bone devil with a large glaive kind of sits there looking at you back and forth, and he's kind of like whispering a couple of things in Infernal, trying to cast a hex upon you. The flame skull swirls around you, Felthrin, and makes eye contact and says, "You are now welcome in Fort Knucklebone." And how do you respond to this situation, Felthrin?
Thank you.
Mad Maggie gives you all an embrace, for she's a very large night hag, and you can see her swell in size as this fey creature, now turned fiend, begins to wrap you up in an embrace and leads you up the stairs one by one into her courts. Come to Granny, child. You all sit down on these pillows at the floor of her chamber. Please, sit down. And you sit on them, they have this squishy, sloppy quality. One of them lets out a flatulence, Bramble, as you sit upon it. And the demons and devils pointing at you because you sat on the fart cushion.
How does it feel in here? Is it any cooler or does it feel better inside here?
She can see you. Oh, come, you must be suffering, mortal souls on Avernus. Here, and she holds up a simple cistern of pure, clear water. Oh, I assure you, it's perfectly suitable for your palate. I can't have you exhausted here. What kind of hostess would I be? Please, crispy face, you first.
Felthrin will grab it and take a drink first.
It's actually quite cool.
Okay.
In fact, it tastes a lot like ale.
All right. And he doesn't detect, nothing happens to him. He doesn't detect it being strange.
No need for a Constitution saving throw. It's just enough to take the edge off exhaustion.
All right. He'll then thank Maggie. Thank you, Maggie. And he'll hand it to Bramble.
And Bramble will drink.
Bramble, your exhaustion begins to melt away. Your skin is still, of course, crispy and everything, but you begin to feel yourself rejuvenated slowly. And as you take sip after sip of the cool, it tastes much like your favorite drink.
Honey mead. Very, very sweet. Not a lot of alcohol. Just...
Very characteristic of the henfolk from Red Larch. Garandan and Hay, do you partake?
Yeah, I use prestidigitation to cool it even more and then take a sip. So there's like a skim of ice across the top of it.
She kind of wiggles her fingers with glee. Oh, yes. A little touch from the Lady of Air and Darkness. I'm right, aren't I? Is that true?
Yes.
We have a secret. We have a common bond. Wonderful. Oh, come on now, Baldy. Don't be shy. Garandan, do you participate?
Yeah, he takes it, and as he drinks from it, it tastes like the coffee beer and Moradin's beard. It gives him that sense of home. But his lip gets caught on a little frost, and the bowl sticks to his lip. Get it off.
She waves a hand and sit down. Now, You see that she has in her company, of course, the flame skull, Barnabas. She also has, standing in the background, assuming attention, a horrid flesh golem, various body parts assembling. It has a hideous head, ram horns, mismatched arms attached to each side, one leg longer than the other, and a large pot belly. The most notable thing you see about it, instead of having a mouth, it has a large vacuum hose attached to its back. And it's simply breathing on this respirator back and forth. But Bramble, as you see this creature, you notice that something is off with it. Your passive perception would easily pick up on it. Just in passing, something's different about this creature, and you're not sure why at this point. You also see various bone devils that have assembled at her side. One particular wears a very large war helmet, and his arms are folded across. And she sits on her throne of what looks like horrid skin stretched over a bony scaffold. And she looks at you. Now, Felthrin, why did you come back to Granny? Did you miss me? Please tell me. To what do I owe the honor?
Well, Granny, Maggie, first we didn't know you are you, but we didn't come here for you. We came to see you now because we understand that you can help us. Well, we were told that you could help us, but I don't know. And he'll look at Bramble and he'll look at Garandan looking for some help.
Yeah, you see, we need some immediate help. Just kind of dealing with the environment here. We have... Can Bramble tell which side of the conflict she's on?
Make an insight check. Straight roll.
Straight roll.
24.
Yeah, you see she's playing both sides.
Okay.
You see that she's supplying the war machines to the infernal legions to plow through the hordes of the abyss. And you see a box of pickled frog eyes in the corner of the room. And there's a certain drow kind of sitting there that just recently took a circlet from your head. He's kind of sitting there like tossing a dagger back and forth and patting his money purse. You know that these pickled frog eyes, he leaked the information to you that they're used to create this magical, they're a spell component in this ritual that's designed to cloak a demon slug. Like a Trojan horse, it moves across the plains of Avernus completely undetected. This foolish drow leaked that information to you. So it's very clear that you can see she's playing the financial gain rather than who wins the blood war.
We are here ultimately to make sure that the blood war continues.
Go on.
Well, I think we might have some similar interests here. We've been told about the demon zapper.
Yes, it was overrun the other day by the demonic horde, much to the chagrin of Zariel.
Indeed, and I think restoring that to the hands of the devils would restore some balance.
Very cunning for a crispy little fellow.
I will admit Avernus has been pretty tough on me.
I can see why she likes you. And then she calls the flame skull over, and the flame skull comes close and whispers something in her ear, and she whispers something back. They have a private conversation, and she glances at Bramble one other time with a piercing look. Do I remember? She whisks the flame skull off. Go find out. Yes. A very good offer. Restore the demon zapper, the burning beacon. I can see Felthrin is clearly out of words. She looks to Garandan for any insight.
Garandan's kind of he's keeping quiet.
While you're keeping quiet, Garandan, you see a very beautiful shield hanging upon the wall of her hut. It is a shield of Lathander, the Morning Lord, and it is an abomination that it is hanging upon her wall, for it is a sacred ritual item used in holy dedications to the births of infants into the world, blessed mortal beings. And it looks like a total disregard for everything that is light and holy. And it just hangs there like a prisoner of war. And he sits in silence, I imagine. Hey, no longer the center of attention, Granny going on, and obviously Bramble and her are connecting back and forth. Oh, yes. Oh, keep the war going. Interesting. That's not what I expected from a company of Grovelaw.
He has not swallowed the water. He's holding it in his mouth. He's treasuring the feeling of the moisture in his mouth. And so he's not saying anything. He's just holding that water for as long as he possibly can. Every now and then he allows the tiniest bit to go down his throat, but that's it. He's just enjoying the water. And that's what he tastes it as, is pure, clear water.
Indeed it is. Felthorn, you see that Bramble's actually making quite a bit of headway with Mad Maggie. The fiendish flesh golem just stares off into the distance. The warlord devil kind of eyeing you up and down as if he's wondering if he could take you in a fight. The flame skull, of course, has left off on some little errand, and Professor Thaddeus Banks is busy in the corner calculating some deals of other nature. You also notice everything else that everybody else has seen in this room. Is there anything else you're paying attention to, or how would you like to resolve the situation?
Pretty sure that Felthran doesn't want to talk to Granny any more than he has to. He's going to look around. He's going to just keep an eye on all of the different people in the room that seem to be eyeing them, especially the guy that was picking on Garandan, and make sure that he makes eye contact with that guy to let him know that if he wants to play with Garandan, he's going to have to go through me. And he's also going to notice the shield that Garandan noticed, and maybe say, Maggie, so Bramble is good with words. I only know that we're in need of some water to continue on our journey, and maybe some food that humans can eat. Also, medicine for my friend and a place to rest. We are happy to pay the regular price.
Well, it's no secret your tongue does have your friend has a smooth tongue of honey. Not like your gravelly voice. Anything I provide is tasty to mortals, comes at a high price, bottles of water and meals ready to eat for you. I even have, and she pulls forth an umbrella, a simple firestorm protector to keep your sensitive skin from being sizzled by the storms that issue from the clouds of darkness. I think we will make a deal. Your part, of course. Restore the demon zapper. Yes, wrest it back from the abyssal hordes. Put a thorn in their side. Yes, I think that will shake up the balance a little bit. Quite pleasant. I think that I can provide, say, 3 days' food. and water for you, so you won't have to worry about the little problem. Give each of you an umbrella, and you can open it up whenever you wish. Medicine here, well, she pulls forth a bird cage, whistles. A little bird appears on that. She curses something in Sylvan, ancient language of the Feywild, and the bird poops. She grabs it, begins wresting it back and forth, and puts it into a satchel and flicks it towards you, Bramble. It is a 4d4+4 healing potion. Just put that on your skin or whatever your problem is, and maybe you should visit the witch's wart, and take a bath. Now, for your part as well, give something to old Granny. I will require, also, one dream from each of you. The room goes pin drop silent. A little insurance policy to make sure you don't backstab old Granny. It's got a key for me to enter through the back door whenever Granny needs to pay a visit. Just so we know, we're on the same side. The chaotic side, correct. The side to ensure the balance takes place. So, do we have a deal?
Granny, I've yet to make a deal. You want to visit me in a dream?
She yells, "Fool! You made a deal with Morden from the day you were born. Everyone is in service to another. This just gives you a choice. Now." A couple of the spittle begins to shower you like sparks. Do you want to deal with me or not, or would you rather gallivant across Avernus with no one on your side? Here, the way lies is madness. Here, the way lies is the strong survive. And even the strong are eaten.
I will do it.
Well, I would require it from all of you, of course. This stubborn dwarf here thinks he's too good for Granny to come inside and pay a visit.
He's not too good, he just doesn't trust you.
Hence, the reason we make deals.
Felthran will look at Hay and then look at Garandan.
Garandan, you have a moment to respond to Felthran, and then Hay, you take your turn.
I'm not sure, brother. A dream. I know my dream is to find out what that shield is doing here. I think it could be a lot worse. It seems legit.
Hay, you have a moment to confer with Garandan and Felthran.
I don't know what this all means, but I'm going to take her up on it. We won't be able to make it without her help. We have struggled even to get this far, and we have a lot farther to go. I feel like I have to do it.
She get us invited to your party. I think there's some more on the table here. She likes to make deals.
Garandan, on that note, you would also notice that Professor Thaddeus Banks, according to your knowledge, is an imp. And imps are couriers of instant messages to even archdevils, if the case need be, with many lines of communication open at this point. As you ponder that information, Professor Thaddeus just simply scribing away deals and catching up on bureaucratic paperwork and filling out forms. Bramble, sitting there silently, instigating this whole ordeal. Is there anything else you're accomplishing?
I think Bramble's a bit surprised to see Hay volunteer, since he knows that they have some history. And I guess he'll kind of trust Hay's instinct on that and say, I think I think we can. I think we must. He'll look back at Felthrin.
Okay, Granny. I agree.
Wonderful. Well, let it be known that this morsel filth from Grovlor is the guest of Mad Maggie. So don't rough him up too much in town, but mind you, this is the law of the Wild Wild West. Cross someone, and you get crossed. Trip someone up, and you get hit in the back of the door. Don't pay your bill, and you suffer the consequences, and Granny will not bail you out. Now, you're free to move about Fort Knucklebone unhindered and undisturbed, but first, everybody leave. And the room begins to go dark, and she begins to chant back and forth as her cauldron issues this pink and sickly neon green gas floating up. And she says, "Do you succumb to the sleep?" As you all agreed to this deal, she breathes this air on you, and you find yourself drifting into a sleep, resting on this soft, fleshy pillow. So, I'll take a volunteer first. Who would like to give up their dream to Granny Nightshade?
I'll go first.
All right, hey.
I settle down into the cushion that I'm sitting on, just kind of pat it up a little bit to rest my little head on. And then I let my mind wander back to the forest where I grew up. It's a comforting thought. It's a place that I remember clearly and spent many hours just sitting and enjoying the solitude. It's a glade in the forest, a clearing where the trees just don't grow. There's a mossy stump that I would sit on, and it juts out from a bank to a clear stream running just below. And I dangle my feet in it and let the water splash over my toes and just feel the sunshine on my back as I do it. And it's a comforting thought that I allow to play through my mind time and again as I'm trying to fall asleep, and that's what I let her in on.
And as your feet dangle, you happily look into the stream as the sunlight shimmers off the reflection. And then you hear her voice, and you see her face reflected in the water. Lovely. Thank you for letting me in. And the dream fades into darkness. Who would like to go next?
Felthrin can.
Go ahead, Felthrin.
So, Felthrin's dream starts off in old Grovlor before the original orc and troll invasion, and remembering being a younger dwarf and playing out in the forest, and his dream is focused on the fact that he didn't have the kind of power that he has now to affect change back then. And so his dream is a happy boy playing, and it kind of fast forwards through the time where there starts to be some dissension amongst the dwarfs and some infighting. And as that continues, because he has the foreknowledge of what's to come in the dream state, his dream goes from happy to sad to then stepping up and helping the other dwarfs know that if we continue to do this, we'll lose Grovlor. And the dream always ends before any resolution comes. But that was always his greatest regret, was that he didn't speak up, even though he didn't have the power. So it's kind of bordering on a nightmare, but but it heads in that direction, and that's the one that Granny gets in on, is that dream.
The dwarves beginning to fight. And all of a sudden, as a young dwarf, you realize this is going to end up bad. I must stop them. And the two older dwarves are just arguing back and forth, and you can see the divide between east and west, left and right. And you go to reach toward them, and you feel a hand grab your ankle. And you try to pull as hard as you can. And you look back and nothing's there. And you try to get a little closer to get closer to them. And you feel a hand grab your shoulder and you're pulled back. Oh, yes, come to Granny, child. And your weakness is overtaking you. And you reach out one final hand to grab towards the infighting, to stop it, to change the fate of Grovelore. And you are left with darkness and the cackling sound of Granny Nightshade. Who would like to go next?
Bramble has had this dream pretty frequently. His mind goes back to a time only about 5 or 6 years ago. He's sitting on the lawn at the Heartwood estate, having a picnic with his sister and his mother. Everything was going very well in life, enjoying their nice sunny afternoon, cool breeze. And he hears the voice of Hedge, and he turns to look at him, and every time when he turns to look at Hedge, instead of seeing him as he was, he sees him the last way that he saw them. Hedge was caught in the manor when it was burned down, and he was tortured before that. And so he sees his brother, walking toward him, but his face is burnt and cut, and it's twisted into a scream, although he's not, he walks up to us and he says, "Bramble, are you done? Let's go back for another round of sparring." And as Bramble stands up to walk back with him, he sees that the Heartwood estate is on fire, and things just like he sinks into the nightmare of that day.
Bramble, you're the only one who feels this. A compression on your chest. Like you can't breathe. You feel something heavy sitting on top of you. The cackling is right above you. You turn to look at Hedge, your brother, and he beckons, "Come on, come spar." And you follow him to the burning beyond. And he pulls out a sword. He looks at you, and you can see these marionette strings are attached to his arm. One's pulled up, and his arms back and forth like a limp puppet. He begins to move towards you in jerking fashion, and you can look to see who's controlling the marionette. And it's all darkness at this time. And he looks at you, and his eyes drop, and finally his pupils flare open. He says, "I'm so sorry. We were losing money. I had to do what I had to do. I'm so..." And then the voice interrupts. "Oh, I knew you looked familiar. He's mine now." And your brother is wrested away, and you see a large witch pulling him back, dragging him into Avernus. And that chest gets stronger and stronger, and you hear the cry of your brother, "I'm so sorry, Bramble. I thought I could pull it off. I'm so sorry. I've brought this whole thing upon us." And all goes to darkness. I'm so sorry, Bramble. Garandan, if you would resolve this horrid dream turned into a nightmare.
So as Garandan was laying down to go to sleep, he had already thought, you want a dream? I'll give you a dream. And so it's pitch black, and then all of a sudden he appears just in a room, and he hears lots of trudging feet and marching going on. He's looking down at his hands, and he's got some like clerical paperwork in his hands. He looks at his chest, and he sees the infernal marking again of Lord Volmer, and he starts following the troops as he's walking after them, and he sees his general ahead. He sees Volmer, and he's talking to a lady, and this lady is big and majestic and holding a big hammer, and just as he's like feeling despair and ready to give in, two lights shine on him, and he just kind of feels Moradin and Lathander's light surrounding him. And just as that happens, like the lady snaps her head towards him, and then it ends.
All goes to darkness. You look down at your chest. You're completely nude in the dark. You can feel the coldness touching all your skin, and everywhere you sit is uncomfortable. Then a gentle hand is placed on your shoulder. It's infernal. Its heat and sulfur radiates. And then you hear Granny's voice. Get out! This is my playtime. And you hear the quiet voice of Zariel. I know you're here. Come back. Granny, no, get away, you fiend, this is my playtime. Get away. And then, Garandan, you wake up in a start. You are sweating, and you are in, not this room, but you are in some kind of hotel room, and you look, and there's two sets of bunk beds. Off to your right, Felthrin is just beating, shadow boxing against the wall. And you can see Hay is completely rolled off the bed and is just rolling alongside. And Bramble's just standing up in the middle of the room at the front door. And he's just like staring into the wall.
Garandan's gonna walk over to Felthor, and he's just gonna touch him on the back and just, hey brother, it's okay. You're fighting to protect us. You're okay. You're doing it now. He'll see Hay rolling on the floor and kind of just put him in a nice posture, stop him from rolling, help him to relax. And then Bramble, I'm gonna kind of just move around him and just the same thing. Just let him know he's in a good place. That's it. Just to see his countenance. Just
Bramble, you can't see anything now, but you hear the distant voice of Garandan calling out to you. It's going to be okay. I need you to respond to the situation before it resolves.
Hearing Garandan's voice brings reality back to mind. Just a hint of reality. I guess slowly at first, and then he remembers some of the things that he's experienced with these guys. And hearing Garandan, he remembers when he first met him and all the power that Moradin displayed at that moment. And every time he thinks of Garandan, he thinks of Moradin. And that light brings him back just enough to wake up sane.
And a rap comes at the door. Garandan, you open, and Professor Thaddeus is pushing in a cart full of fine foods. And he spreads forth a table and says, all right, now, come now. Old chaps, get up off the floor. It's no time to sleep. It's time to eat. time to discuss. It's a brand new day here in Avernus, as it were, as the 9 suns continue to revolve around. Oh, I say, you look like you haven't had a night's sleep at all. It's better if you eat something. It's much better. You must get up your strength. You can't go around fasting in a immortal plane here.
What's available?
You see before you actually really nice food. He looks and he says, well, these were, of course, the sort of things that the archdevils tempted mortals to come to Avernus first in the first place. They retained some of their magical powers. It's quite delicious. Of course, it's suited to the mortal palate. You see chickens and hens and quail and all kinds of roast meats, pies and a fruit basket and a large hunk of cheese. And of course, just enormous amounts of alcohol. Tons. I mean, as if this is the only reason people ever came to Avernus. I mean, just barrels of wine and strong drink, and even some infernal liquor for the more adventurous. It seems like the chef just prepared everything for you here at the Witch's Ward. Well, yes, you are here at the Witch's Ward. You've slept all night and achieved a long rest, of course, and a level up. Congratulations. Hey, excuse me, Felthrin, and then Bramble. Hey, and then finally Garandan. How do you respond to the situation? What are you paying attention to? And do you have any questions as you sit down at this buffet of infernal food?
Thran's going to, he knows he's hungry. He's going to look at the food. He's going to look at Thaddeus and thank him. He's going to pour himself a little bit of, was there some ale?
The finest kind. I believe they know you are dwarf, so it's, I don't know how you, what year it might be. It might have been the old and stuff. And as you do taste it, you notice that it's ancient, as if they haven't updated their files on dwarven palates in a long time.
It tastes good to me or it tastes bad to me?
It tastes like old school dwarven ale.
Okay. So he's going to drink some. He's going to be careful not to drink too much. He'll maybe have a mug and then switch to water. And he's going to kind of pick at the foods that he thinks the other guys will eat. Maybe a little bit of chicken, a little bit of beef, take a bite out of a pie. Just try to work his way around the table, kind of, just taste testing. Trusting his own constitution over his compadres, and just wait to see if there's any ill effects.
One of the foods you notice is a large bowl of like garbanzo beans and chilies, like a big thick stew, and there's large pita breads that are kind of stacked around the side, and you scoop it and taste into it. It has a very spicy flavor, and you can tell now that these devils appeal to all kinds of mortal creatures, elves, dwarves, various humans from all kinds of parts of the world. Although there's not any henfolk food here, you notice. But it is delicious, and tastes incredibly expensive.
Bramble's not inclined to be too suspicious at this point, thinking that we've done enough to seal the deal, but he will follow Felthran around the table. When he sees the bead of sweat form on Felthran's forehead, he's going to skip the spicy food. But, otherwise he'll take his plate of food back to his the bunk where he was sleeping and just kind of take a moment to look through, make sure all of his things are there, make sure nothing was stolen.
Okay, you said it. I'll allow you a dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
Or, no, perception. Yeah, perception check.
Well, it was a natural 20.
Oh, gosh. All right, so even in your stupor, I mean, you've had a horrible night. Your chest is still a little sore, almost as if something's been, like an anvil has been resting on you. And in the middle of the night, you saw someone walk in. It was the drow. He called himself Smiler, as if he was talking to himself, and he began to converse back and forth with Yenigu, the Knoll Lord. And he tried to reach into your pocket, and your hand instinctively slapped him. And the missile of firing shot forth and stuck him in the shoulder. And he cursed quietly a little bit and backed up, and then he tripped over hay, and he landed on his butt, and then scurried out the back door. And you quickly tap your pocket as if it was a dream, and you realize, yeah, everything's still there, and you check your missiles, and you're one short. But please, continue.
I think our friend visited us overnight. Professor Thaddeus.
Yes, old chap.
You wouldn't happen to... I suppose we didn't hire you to guard over our room last night.
Of course not. And to be completely honest, my services were completed at the night. And if I could just press you a little bit, was my service satisfactory or unsatisfactory? Please check one.
Well, we're alive, which is probably better than we would have been without you.
That's very, very ambiguous, old man.
Satisfactory.
Ah, check. And you hear a little ding, and he says, "Oh, Thaddeus Banks, you've done it, well, for the first time this year. Now, since we are on to a start, would you be interested in continuing this little enterprise?"
He'll glance briefly at the other guys and see Girandan nodding.
Yes, I tell you what, 10 days of work, and I'll just make it an even 80 gold. Give you a 20% discount.
Well,
we're hoping not to be here for 10 days, my friend.
Well, make your counter offer then. 3 days? Oh, very well. Well, let's just call it an even 20 gold then.
Yes.
3 days it is. He giggles a little bit and writes it down and takes the 20 gold from one of you.
I'll give it to him.
Garandan's going to toss him a gold for bringing us food.
Thank you, but we don't accept tips here in Avernus, part of the rules. And he quickly says, laundering money is not really our thing. And then he looks at you with kind of like a wide eyes, as if someone was just listening to him decline the tip. Yeah, we don't accept tips at all. And then you see him nod his head. Do you get the inference? And he looks around the room as if someone's listening.
Oh, thank you, yes.
You silently slip the gold coin under the table. He accepts it. Huh, of course. For bribery is against the law here in Avernus. Before we get to the rest of you, he kind of rambles on a little bit. And he does a little bit of an exploratory lore segment. He says, well, you see, that's the difference between us and the Abyss. The Abyss is a vast wound in the space of the universe. The truth remains that the demon princes remain the mightiest force in the universe. Oh yes, even Yenigu. I mean, most other creatures believe demons to be little more than mindless engines of destruction and violence. But if that supposition were true, the Blood War should have ended a long time ago, since the tactical and strategic genius of the Archdevils, which made quick work of the hordes that erupt from the Abyss. But you see, the Blood War offers an endless source of diversion, underscored by the resentment. In the cosmic order, the demons refuse to admit their loss. Avernus, of course, is the most accessible place from the River Styx. If the demons were to strike forth anywhere else in the universe, they would play right into the devil's hands. And Zariel would launch a final attack on their home plane, destroying them forever. And so you see, it's a bit of a stalemate. And you see that look wash over his face again, and he says, I feel sorry for you. You are caught up in this. I mean, it's not quite the business mortals should be undertaking. And he kind of like carelessly pops a grape into his mouth, although it means nothing to him. As he mirrors your mannerisms, takes a sip of water, and says, but I suppose that's why you're here, to make sure it doesn't happen for you. Hey, how are you responding to the situation?
He is taking everything at its surface. He is eating, and he is oblivious to anything else. He's not one for intrigue and anything like that. He likes things surface level, and he is not at all paying attention to what's going on.
But enjoying himself with the food?
Yep.
There's a small little slice of white bread, and you found some crushed peanuts mixed with oil and a little bit of fruit that you've kind of assembled together, and it's made a square, and you're busy enjoying it. And it's sticky and sweet and salty in your mouth at the same time. Garandin, how do you wrap up this situation?
So, Garandan isn't eating. He doesn't feel like eating after that experience and snapping out of it. He's just looking at his friends, thankful that we're all together in a safe place. He's running the coin of Lord Neverember over his fingers. And he wants to ask the imp, like, how is there a way out of this? Like, can we free him? Like, hey, Professor Thaddeus, my friend here, he points to the coin, is this all there is for him? Is there anything I can do for him?
He kind of looks. Begging your pardon, you actually know the poor soul locked away in that prison?
Moradin has me here for a reason.
That's quite a bit of luck. Law says that if you actually know the true name of a being, you can simply speak it into existence, releasing their bondage to the Archdevil they currently are owned by. But I must warn you, doing so would definitely cause a little bit of attention. Mind you, it could be something that's missed in the ledgers, of course. But there is a risk. Let me see it. And he kind of looks at it and says, that's what I thought. Zariel.
Daggle Neverember. Be free.
All right. Make a wisdom saving throw.
15.
Duly noted. And Professor just kind of grips his chest for a little bit, and the room gets silent. Hayes busy smacking on the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, completely oblivious to all this is going on, and the coin simply diminishes in size to a simple doubloon. And you feel its energy has been siphoned off. The soul has now progressed into judgment on the upper planes of existence.
Hey, Professor Thaddeus.
Yes, old chap.
Can you get a message to Zariel?
I got her on speed dial, of course.
Tell her that I'll make up for it.
Excellent. His eyes go wide a little bit, and he begins scratching without breaking eye contact with you, and dots it and says, of course. And he seems a little bit unnerved at your audacity to assume, rightly so, that he is in direct contact with the Archduchess of Avernus. And so for now, our story concludes.